Is Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni on the hot seat going into 2024? We're going to talk about that here on today's Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Hope everybody out there is having a fantastic weekend and you're indulging in some fun. First, let's pop up today's poll question. I want you to grade the job that Nick Sirianni has done in his first 3 seasons as the Eagles head coach. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know what you think about how Sirianni has fared as a head coach for this football team. We could set the foundation here and start off by first looking at Nick Sirianni's resume. He gets hired from the Indianapolis Colts after the Birds moved on from Doug Peterson, the only head coach in the history of this organization who has won a Super Bowl. And in year 1, the Eagles got off to that slow start, and then they finished hot. They go 9-8, and they lose in the wild card round on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. The Eagles that year really weren't expected to make the playoffs. They are looked at as a rebuilding team, and I really like that year how the Eagles made adjustments during the season. They started off as a team that wanted to throw the football. That wasn't working well. They got off to a slow start. Classic Philadelphia. People were calling for Nick Sirianni to get fired, claiming that he's in over his skis. He changed the offensive philosophy. He gave up play calling. He gave those duties to Shane Steichen. The Eagles became a run-heavy team, and they found their groove. Then in year 2, a magical season for Philadelphia. The Birds go 14-3, get the number 1 seed in the NFC. They make it to the Super Bowl in a game that they should have won. Nick Sirianni, of course, a part of that with some bad decisions in that game. But to make it to the Super Bowl in year 2 and to go 14-3 with a historic offense, some individuals on that team having a historic season, both sides of the ball, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith popping off. The Eagles had 70 sacks as a team. We're going to look back at that 2022 season a few years from now and say it truly was special if you can't say that about the 2022 campaign right now. And then the 2023 season. We're still working off the ugliness of that year, 11-6. Birds started off hot, and then it ended very, very poorly. Losing in the wild card round, and once again, lost in the wild card round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So in Sirianni's first 3 years here, playoffs in the first year of a rebuild, a truly dominant and magical season in year 2, and then year 3, it was a solid but fluky start. You took a look at some of the numbers when the Eagles got off to that really good beginning to the year, and they got lucky to win a couple of those games against Kansas City, against Buffalo. They had to come back. They had to eke some of those games out, and then everything just fell apart, and precipitously, the season just went downhill in the can, and it was bad. And then the Eagles, after the year, had to fire both coordinators. Nick Sirianni held on to his job, and here he is entering year 4. As for Sirianni's strengths and weaknesses, I do think that Sirianni has a lot of strengths. First of all, we look at Howie Roseman as one of, if not the best, general managers in football, and him and Jeffrey Lurie, and Lurie, one of the best owners in football, really like Nick Sirianni. They are a believer in him as a head coach in this league. That's why they're running it back with Nick Sirianni after witnessing the downfall of the 2023 campaign. I think that Sirianni also is a good communicator with his coaches and with his players. He has built a good culture. At the end of the Doug Peterson regime, things were ugly really from top to bottom, and Sirianni had to patch those things together, and the players have even said that Sirianni has a good culture, he's a good football coach, and he's very well respected by the players on his team. I know that the end of last year was not ideal, but look, a 34-17 record is still really impressive. That cannot be denied. Sirianni has hired good coaches. Jonathan Gannon did good stuff with Arizona last year. Shane Steichen, one of the better offensive minds in the league right now as a play caller. Sirianni brought those individuals in, and then he brought in Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio. I think that what's underrated is how Sirianni oversees the entire operation, and I have more thoughts on that. Some people don't think he has any value because he doesn't call plays, but there are other elite coaches now and in the past who have not called plays, but they've been some of the best coaches in the NFL. I also like how Sirianni values being aggressive. He has a good feel and weighs analytics with relying on your gut to make a decision. You can't always measure a person's heartbeat, and I think that Sirianni does a good job of balancing that. And while last year at times he didn't manage the game all that well, his first 2 years I thought he did manage the game well, so I'll chalk that up as a strength. His weaknesses. There are weaknesses. What is his specialty? He came in as an offensive mind, but his offense last year grew stale. It was not innovative. He came up under Frank Reich. Frank Reich's offense was stale. So then Sirianni ditched his offense. So now that he ditched his offense because it's not up to the modern day standards, what is his specialty? I think it's overseeing the operation, being a game manager, building a culture, and having a good temperature of the entire team. Lack of creativity and innovation. Last year, the Eagles were dead last in pre-snap motion, and in 3 years under Sirianni, they've been among the bottom teams in pre-snap motion. It's unacceptable when you take a look at what some of the innovative offenses are doing across the NFL. Last year, when things got rough, Nick Sirianni got a little bit too emotional. Sometimes it's better to be a flatliner. So that's a little bit of a weakness, and there's no doubt the collapse last year was ugly. To that point of Sirianni not calling plays, I already know there are a bunch of comments in the comment section right now. People saying, if he doesn't call plays, what does he do? Bill Belichick is considered the best coach in the history of the NFL. If he's not the best, he's right behind Bill Walsh, right? He didn't call plays for the New England Patriots. He oversaw the operation that allowed him to gauge the temperature of the team, have a good feel, manage the game, and those are very important components. John Harbaugh is one of the best coaches in the NFL for the Baltimore Ravens. Great culture setter, culture builder. The Ravens are a physical and competitive team pretty much year in, year out. He doesn't call plays. Shoot, he came up as an Eagles assistant as a special teams coordinator. How do we look at Mike Tomlin? He has never had a season below 500, I think, for 17 years or something like that. He doesn't call plays either. So there are really good and elite coaches, and for Bill Belichick, maybe the best coach of all time, that do not call plays. So why are we talking about this? Nick Sirianni was listed as one of the head coaches on the hot seat going into 2024. Who were the other 5? Stay tuned to find out. First, I want to tell you about this great deal thanks to our friends at Fanatics. The Brotherly Shove shirt still on sale for only $22. Available right now in Kelly Green. It's the most dominant, the most efficient, and most underrated play in football. I love the X's and O's. It's so Philadelphia. It's so Philadelphia Eagles. So get yours today. Thanks to our friends at Fanatics. We'll put that link down below in the comment section and in the description of this video. It's also attached to the pinned comment right down below. The other 5 coaches on the hot seat listed by SB Nation in addition to Nick Sirianni. Mike McCarthy, head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Matt Eberflus, the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Dennis Allen running the show for the New Orleans Saints. Robert Saleh, the head man for the New York Jets. And Brian Daboll, the head coach for the New York Giants. 2 coaches, ironically, on that list inside this division. We could be looking at 3 coaches inside the NFC East who are on the hot seat who, if their teams have bad years this year, Sirianni, McCarthy, Daboll, they could be out following the 2024 campaign. Let's run through these coaches here and look at the reasoning that SB Nation had for why they're on the hot seat. First, Mike McCarthy. I think I speak for most NFL fans when I say that we were shocked when Mike McCarthy was not fired after the Cowboys' most recent playoff defeat. He's back for 2024, coming off the loss of another key coordinator in Dan Quinn, and a thoroughly disappointing offseason marred by a failure to take action on quarterback Dak Prescott's contract. To put it simply, the Cowboys have been suspiciously lax in addressing veteran departures and the multiple holes on their roster. While I think the draft class has the potential to be good, it's a tough assessment and assignment for any rookie offensive lineman to come in and play right away. Tyler Guyton and Cooper Beebe could be thrust into the spotlight immediately to plug holes, and I'm not sure that will produce great results, at least not right away. The receiver core incredibly thin after CD Lamb, and the lack of urgency to address running back led to an uninspiring reunion with late career Ezekiel Elliott. I've talked about this here on the show. What the Cowboys have done this offseason, really doesn't make any sense. To me, it's kind of like a secret rebuild or a secret reset. Their biggest free agent acquisition, bringing back a washed Ezekiel Elliott, poaching away an older Eric Kendricks away from the San Francisco 49ers. That's not a football team that got better from last year when they got dump trucked in the wild card round by Green Bay. As for Matt Eberflus is in a strange situation with the Chicago Bears. In many ways, it would have made sense for the Bears to make a clean break and start fresh with the new head coach in 2024. The team is very much in the midst of what feels like a perpetually ongoing rebuild, and Eberflus's abysmal 10-24 record through 2 years does not exactly inspire confidence. At the same time, the roster has been far from competitive, and Eberflus can argue that he didn't get any say in previous quarterback decisions. Sure, fair enough. All that being said, expectations will be through the roof for Chicago in 2024 thanks to an aggressive offseason headlined by the addition of Caleb Williams. If things don't take off quite as fast as hoped, and the Bears are once again picking near the top of the NFL draft, the pitchforks will come out, and Eberflus will be the one on the pointy end. I like what the Bears have done this offseason. I think they're a much improved roster. I think that in a semi-open NFC North, they can do some damage, but I just don't think Matt Eberflus is the guy long-term. First of all, he's a defensive mind, and with a defensive mind, the track record for those coaches isn't all that great. Especially, I would have made the reset at head coach and brought in an offensive mind to pair the offensive mind up with Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, and some solid weapons on that side of the ball. DJ Moore, you made the move for Keenan Allen, you signed DeAndre Swift, and Matt Eberflus as your head coach. Didn't really make sense for me, to keep him as the head coach of this football team. Next up, Dennis Allen. Allen has been a largely uninspiring coach for the New Orleans Saints, clawing his way to an under 500 record over the past 2 years, despite possessing one of the oldest and most expensive rosters in the NFL and playing in a division that has been pretty much wide open for the taking. The expensive acquisition of Derek Carr was supposed to be the necessary move to get the Saints back on top in the NFC South, but the team ultimately fell short once again. Allen likely has a Week 18 Falcons collapse to thank for keeping his job heading into 2024, but things are looking considerably more dire for the Saints this year. The roster has continued to age and thin out thanks to years of cap shenanigans. New Orleans has an even tougher path to the playoffs this year, and 3 straight misses would almost certainly mean the end for Allen. He was once the head coach for the Raiders. It was a move that flopped for that organization. He was then a very good defensive coordinator under Sean Payton and was an excellent defensive mind for New Orleans. They elevated him to be head coach, and I just don't think he's the man for the job. A good defensive mind, but not a head coach in this league. As for Robert Saleh, it seems like the signing of Aaron Rodgers and his subsequent injury probably saved Robert Saleh's job in 2023. Perhaps Rodgers really would have lifted the New York Jets to playoff contention and renewed faith in Saleh's leadership, but his injury essentially gave Saleh a free pass. While it's clear Saleh is a great defensive mind and he's put together a top unit in New York over the past 2 years, the offense has continuously held the team back. Saleh is an abysmal 18-33 over his 3 years, and you'd expect pretty much any other coach to be shown the door in that situation. That means that 2024 is probably playoffs or bust for Saleh and the entire regime in New York. The Jets will obviously be better with the healthy Aaron Rodgers, but can they really compete with the top contenders in the AFC? Are they a better team than the Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, or Texans? Can Aaron Rodgers actually stay healthy? Will he retire midseason due to ayahuasca and go on darkness retreats? A playoff berth alone may not be enough to save Saleh's job. I'm actually an Aaron Rodgers guy. I like Rodgers a lot, but for the New York Jets, they might be across the entire NFL, the most boom or bust team. I could see the Jets winning 10 to 12 games, winning the AFC East. That division is open because I think the Dolphins are fraudulent. The Bills, I don't think they got better this offseason. The Patriots kind of rebuilding, and they could be really good. If Aaron Rodgers brings it, he returns to that MVP form, he stays healthy, he'll make that offense go. The defense has been really good, but if Rodgers falters and does not play well, The Jets' offense is going to be putrid once again. Robert Saleh will be shown the door. Another one of those good defensive minds who just might not be a head coach in this league. Hasn't had a lot of quarterback solid play there at that position, though, throughout his tenure. Don't really like how he's handled the Rodgers situation either. SB Nation on Brian Daboll. It's pretty unusual to see a coach coming off an AP Coach of the Year award just 2 seasons prior, entering the season on the hot seat, but the New York Giants are an unusual team. Brian Daboll worked magic in New York to get the team to a 9-7-1 record playoff berth, an upset victory over the Vikings in the wild card round in 2022, but things completely fell apart in 2023. Giants were among the league's worst offenses and were near the bottom defensively as well, with Daniel Jones performing poorly, coming off his extension before tearing his ACL. New York is in a difficult spot heading into this year, as the team chose to pass on a quarterback upgrade for another huge need, a wide receiver upgrade. That might have been the best choice for the team, but it probably wasn't the best choice for Daboll's job security. I still believe Daboll is a good coach and would not be shocked if he bounces back this year, but he'll have to pull out some more of that 2022 magic to overtake the Eagles or the Cowboys in the playoff race. I kind of like Brian Daboll as a head coach, honestly. I know he rubs some people the wrong way. What's beautiful if you're an Eagles fan, the continued dominance over New York over the last decade. Philadelphia is 16-4 against the Giants. I don't know how the Eagles were playing so poorly at the end of last year to lose against New York. That was a bad look, but 16-4 over the hapless Giants who are poorly run and in shambles at Saquon Barkley joined the Eagles. Things that you love to see. Which coach is most likely to be fired during the year or at the end of the year? Let us know down in the comment section. Thanks for watching and supporting. You're all the best.